Hello guys and welcome to another Albion Online video. In today's video we're going to be talking about setting up your early economy in Albion. It's one of the most crucial and important things to do, and there's so many different methods to do it. So with that said, let's get right into it. So the very first thing that we need to understand about the game before we jump into the whole early economy building and so on is that you need to have a very clear understanding of what the game is about. The game is a PvP focused game, meaning that a lot of its content is focused for people to go out there and fight each other, to then lose equipment, and then that equipment to disappear, to be able to keep an economy, a whole market healthy. Now, with that as a core understanding, you will see a lot of sense of a lot of the activities that you're going to be doing, because you will clearly understand better what to craft, what is needed, why is needed. And when you have those three things perfectly understood, you yourself are going to be able to pick and choose whatever it is that you want to do in the game to be able to create that early economy that you need, right? So this video, just to make it very clear, is focused for beginners or returning players. At the moment, I am playing on the European server. So if you are joining or planning to join in this server on the 29th, we are currently on the golden opportunity, on the birth of an economy, of a market, and so on. Therefore, anything that you choose to do right now will give you profits. Everything will give you very decently high margins compared to what it will give you in the future, because in reality, everything gives you a profit. Maybe not a lot, but right now, in the birth of this economy, everything should give you a lot of profit. So let's get right into it. All right, so let's talk now about creating your early economy. One of the very first methods, and the one I will personally highly recommend you, whatever nonsense anybody else tells you, yes, it is profitable and it's definitely worth it, and that would be crafting. Obviously, there's a few things that you need to study, try to find out and understand about the game, like I mentioned earlier, like the mechanics and the why should you be crafting that item. So for example, the server right now, the EU server, is brand new. Therefore, anything you choose right now is going to be profitable. So because anything is profitable, I, who like bows, playing bows a lot, I chose to craft longbows. So I went ahead and started crafting longbows. So this is the one bow I've been crafting, and that's the only one I've been crafting, nothing else. I want to craft that one as much as I possibly can, so I can craft higher tiers of it, and at some point be able to craft tier 8. Now, did this method worked out? Yes, it did work out, because right now the demand is super high. But let me tell you another reason why I also chose longbows. Well, longbows is a very peculiar type of bow because it has an ability that it is used, not as often as back in the day, but it's still used for CBCs. So with that said, so what does this mean? Well, it means that it's probably a weapon that's going to be used a lot on GVGs, like guild versus guild battles, and these battles are big. I'm talking about 50 versus 50 members, and in these battles, people are going to die. Their characters are going to die, and when their characters die, there's a probability that this bow will disappear, and with that the demand increases again. So in the long run, in the future, I'm confident that this weapon will have an okay demand, right? Like it will always give me my profits and so on and so on. So with that mentality, you have to approach crafting, and I highly recommend you to do it in that way. Try to study a little bit about the item that you choose to create and why do you think is a good idea. For example, do you think it's a good idea to create a hunter's hood from the very beginning? Yeah. Why? Because it's one of the most used helmets, especially early on. The meta right now on mists is you taking dual swords and taking your hunter hood and so on and so on. So therefore, there's always going to be a demand for this helmet. But does that mean that a lot of people are going to be crafting them as well? Yeah, very likely that you might have competition. But then you gotta remember that the game works with different cities, different royal cities that have different what's the name, markets. So you have Thetford, you have 4 Starling, you have Marlock, you have Bridgewatch, and you have Limehurst, right? Each of them has their different markets and each of them has different biomes near the royal city. All of these you need to take into consideration because, for example, that helmet that we were talking about just now is a leather helmet. Then if that's a leather helmet, let's go take a look at Bridgewatch. Does that mean maybe I can craft it over here? Oh, it's telling me that only they have a bonus on crafting in production like of cloth shoes, but not leather helmet. How interesting. Yet Bridgewatch has a lot of leather. Does that mean that the prices of this helmet be different, more expensive, or cheaper? These are the questions you need to start asking yourself. And just purely for the purpose of this video, let's go over a Bridgewatch and make a comparison of the prices of this helmet. And let's try to take into consideration why they change on different cities. So let's check Bridgewatch first. Alright, so we made it to Bridgewatch. And as you can see, the Hunter's Hood is for 10,495 silver. Let's quickly check the enchantment versions. They increased by 10k. Then the other one has a massive increasement of about 80k. And then lastly, we have 129. That's a lot. Alright, so that's cool. We just wanted to have an idea of how much it costs. And before we go, let's go ahead and take a look. Scroll down and see that it costs 8 work leather to make it, right? So let's go ahead and look up work leather. Okay, work leather. It costs 620 per piece. Therefore, it's costing you around 5k out of just the pure materials to make it, plus the fee of the workshop of whatever, you know, how many you want to make, and you have an idea of it's costing you about 6k to make. That means that these people who are making these helmets are getting a 4,000 silver profit out of these helmets, right? So now we have a little bit of an understanding. So the next thing is checking the prices somewhere else. So let's go ahead and do that. Here we are in Marlock, which is even cheaper. But then it brings into question, if it's even cheaper here, how much would the work leather be here? Let's check that out. Work leather. And it's cheaper as well. So all of these things, all of this information, you need to start asking yourself the question, why? So if we check Marlock and the Royal City and we look at its bonuses, we realize that the bonus for refining here is hide. They get a 40% yield. So that answers the question of why hide is cheaper here. So you could actually make a profit by buying so much hide in here, like buy, I don't know, 1 million worth of hide, and then you take it with your ox to Bridgewatch and then you sell it there, because you know there is a 100 silver difference in one from the other. So that's again just a little bit, just another idea of how you could potentially be making money early on, playing the market, understanding the market. Let's scroll further down and we see that there's no other crafting bonuses. So we still have the question of, does this 40% hide bonus is the sole reason why that Hunter Hood is so cheap here? Maybe, maybe not. And this applies also to the Hunter Hood, by the way. The thing about buying a bunch of hide, you can also buy a bunch of soldier hoods here and take them to Bridgewatch and sell them over there. And then you can make money as well. All right, let's move on to the next city. Now, here we are in Thetford. As you can see, the price changed drastically. Why is it that in one place, not too far from here, it's costing 8,000 to make one Hunter Hood, while here, and I'm not cheating you or anything, look at this, I can switch the prices, we are on the minimum, costs double, a little bit over double. And now you ask the same question as before, how much is the work hide here? So let's check that out. Work leather is 959. Oh my god. So does this mean I could go to Marlock, grab all that hide that was for 500, then travel all the way here and make almost double the money by just selling it here. The question now is, will it sell? Because that sounds like a lot of profit to me. So you go ahead, you check, you press the buy button, and then you click this arrow right here, and you take a look at how many have sold today. Sold 4,587, 1,600. So there's definitely people buying them. There's definitely people buying them for crazy amounts of money. So here is another idea of how the market works. But again, I need you to ask all these questions yourself to every single item, to do the exercise every single time. Now, just to finish the exercise, let's go ahead and check Fort Starling. Now we're here in Fort Starling, and we can see that also the Hunter Hood is slightly more expensive than the other places we looked into. So it would be interesting to also check the worked leather, and let's check how it is, and there we go. It is extremely expensive, and you can see somebody's doing exactly what we were talking about, and he's about to make almost 1 million profit. So again, all of this, I want you guys to see it, and I wanted to make this exercise very simple, not calculate unnecessary mathematics or anything like that. It's pure logic. You can see it in action. You can see, you kind of understand why you see so many oxes coming and going, because people know this and people are doing it, right? And that's how the economy of the game works. And with this basic understanding of how the market and the economy works, and how every single thing in the world of Albion influences the prices of different items, so after that little exercise, now we understand how the market works, and this applies to everything. Your farms, your breeding. For example, I am breeding horses right now because I know there is going to be a demand of horses. There is currently a demand of horses because the server is brand new. Therefore, the horses are going to be selling on very decent margins. Does this mean that horses in the future are not going to sell on a loss? Maybe in a city, maybe in another city won't. Maybe you should hoard them, so when the CBCs or something or peak hour happens, there's an increased demand for these horses because people out there fighting and dying. So you know how to pick and choose the time, the place, on when to sell your horse. This logic you apply it on every single activity you do in the game, and you will quickly come to understand the basics of Albion's economics. And with that, you will have a very successful early start with your character. That's why crafting, gathering early on is not about whether it's worth it. It's not about whether you're wasting or not your time. It's about setting your character up for success, especially on a brand new server. This way, you will always, especially early on, have a way to make money. And if you wait later on, where it's gonna be, the margins are gonna be lower, the gathering that you're doing, the time that you're spending, you know, there's people that are already way ahead of you in this whole gathering tools. I mean, I'm not saying it's gonna be bad, but it's not gonna be as great as it could be right now. So don't miss that opportunity. Now, that's enough about crafting and gathering. Let's talk about other activities which you can also make money from for your early stages, for your early economic success. And that would be the yellow zones. There's nothing wrong about the game being played in a safe way. There's absolutely nothing wrong. You can enjoy yourself in the yellow zones. There's a lot of activities like mists. You can do corrupted dungeons, hellgates, and so on. All of them will give you a decent amount of money and, more importantly, experience. But don't get me wrong, the fighting on a non-lethal area compared to a lethal area is very different. It's a different mentality. It's a different approach. So I highly recommend you to, when you finish gathering those resources, when you finish getting that silver early on and you're feeling ready to go out there, you should always do it with the things that you're willing to lose. That's very important. But there's another topic I wanted to talk about, and that would be factions. Let me show you. Factions is another system in the game, and a great system in my opinion, especially for solo players who are looking to get into this whole CBCs, small, medium to large battles, it's really fantastic. And the best part is that you can do it safe, both safe and lethal, right? Factions, you will find these guys here in the cities, in each one of the cities, where you can actually enlist for that faction. And by enlisting that faction, you're pretty much fighting for that faction, right? And then you can get rewarded by doing so. I would love to jump into a lot of detail about this, so I'm just going to go into a very general terms, because maybe we can do a video about it later on. But I just want to show you an idea. Let's say that you do factions for an hour and you get a bunch of points. You can get up to, I mean, I did it on stream like an hour or two ago, and we made about 80,000 points, right? So 80,000 points, I could have bought a bunch of vine hearts with the 80,000 points, which is an estimated value of 117k. That means that if I had 80,000 points and each one of these things cost 3,000 points to buy, I could have bought 26 of them, and then you multiply 26 multiplied by, I don't know, 107. I could have made up about 3 million silver just buying all of them. Obviously, it's also to take, you gotta think whether they're gonna sell or not, right? Whether you get undercut, whether it would be a smart idea to just sell them, or you could take them somewhere else and sell them in another market, and so on. Everything we just talked about before, because if I were to sell them on this market of this faction, it's very likely that the price is actually less, because people will probably don't want to take it to another city, so therefore they will just sell it to this market. So what would happen if you go the extra mile and you travel with these vine hearts somewhere else to another city, one far away? You will probably make a lot of money by doing that. Not only that, if you get a bunch of points, you can also buy chests, and these chests, they give you around 100 to 200k worth of items, runes, what's the name, mats, and so on and so on. So you get the idea. And not only that, you also get to do, you know, these things. You can buy them. These are, in fact, mats that you need to be able to craft capes. And right now, the demand for capes is huge. Therefore, it's, again, more money. You can make more money. Now, when I mentioned earlier that you can do faction wars non-lethal, I meant it. You can actually afford to do this by just doing faction wars. For example, there's a faction war going on right here at Blackthorn Quarry. You can see that by how that flashed, how that flag is flashing like that. We're being under attacked by another faction here. You can go over there, defend it, kill the other guys, but don't worry, as long as you are on a non-lethal territory, meaning this blue icon right here, or this yellow one, if you die, you will just respawn with all your items. Therefore, this is a great way to get introduced into PvP, into group PvP, and have an idea of how these big scale battles happen. And there's always something going on in factions. There's a chat meant for it where you can check and look into it. Again, I don't want to jump a lot into detail into this topic because it's very complex and so on. I just wanted to give you guys a clear understanding of the economics of the game. Just very on the surface, because you can really min-max this to another level and make a lot of money in the game. But yeah, I hope that this helps you out, especially all those solo players out there, to know it is possible. Like I said, this money I have right here, for many, is probably not a lot, but for me, it is a lot because it was all made solo. I do have a guild now, but again, this was all made solo. I made about 14 million in just 3 days, and amen. If I can do it, you can do it. I'm 100% certain. So with that said, I am Tote Torres. It's been a pleasure talking with you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And if you found this video useful, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. I will see you in the next one. Oh, and I'm probably streaming right now, so make sure to come and say hello. I'm always streaming. Take care, guys. Bye.